If you have any questions, well, what I want you to know is that this whole conversation, what we'll do is I'm gonna do it like the Tuesday night study group for those who are familiar with that. I'll record it and then I'll share it on the Patreon page, so you have a chance to go back over it, and follow up. But if you can take notes and you know, be ready to dive into what we're going to do. So, welcome to the School of Orisa Studies first school-wide assembly. Hooray! This is a big deal. I want to thank you for your time, for your attention, for creating the space in your day to check in with the school and get to know some of your schoolmates and your classmates, and get an idea of, actually get to know me too, because what I realize is that if you're not in the gold or the silver or amethyst class, there's a chance that you and I have never actually had direct contact, and so that's not acceptable. So I think it's important that we do this periodically, just to touch base and get a sense of humanity and connectedness as we go about these studies. So I want to express my gratitude to you first and foremost for hanging in, for participating, for learning, for teaching other people, sharing your lessons with other people, and all the things that have been happening. I get little tags from time to time from people who are doing different activities, and there's and they check in. You know what I mean? It's part of the assignments. People, you send me a message here, you send a message there. People follow up by asking questions. So it's very good to know that you're doing that. The full history of the School of Orisa Studies, very briefly, is a very long-term dream of mine, a vision of mine from early in my career as a practitioner. I've always wanted to create a school, and so I remember that when I went to Nigeria to be initiated, a number of years ago. I went with the intention, I was going to get initiated. I had a full package, I knew what the package was I needed to, as an initiate, the things that I wanted to learn while I was there, and I wanted to come back with. And in addition to that, I knew that there was a certain wardrobe. That was when I totally switched my wardrobe over. I went from Western clothes to Yoruba clothing all the time. So I came back with a full wardrobe. I knew that I wanted to get a body of curriculum. So I wanted to, go to the school board, what the equivalent of the superintendent of schools here in the States is, and I wanted to get like a full body of specific areas of curriculum. How do you teach Yoruba children this information from this age to this age? And so there was like language and social studies and cultural studies that I went and I gathered, and I tried to get syllabi, textbooks, all that kind of stuff, because I knew that I wanted to use that as a template for when I got back to build my own school. And all of this was before, the internet as we know it today. So a lot of the stuff that I was trying to get, I can get online now, but then you couldn't. You had to go and walk into a school and talk to an actual person and, give them $10 and make photocopies and stuff like that. And because of that, no one thought it was possible. No one believed that that I was going to be able to establish a school. And so little by little and bit by bit, I have been building out the dream of creating a school. And so I want you to understand that what we're doing today is the outgrowth and the continuum of something that has started many years ago. And the intention of it for it as a school, and a spiritually based school, is to help other people learn how to do the same thing for themselves. Everybody's not a teacher, right? I'm a teacher. So I use Ifa to be a better teacher, or to be a particular kind of teacher. You might be a tailor or a dancer or a singer or a painter or a mother or a father or a lawyer. You know what I mean? You have your own craft. And so my firm belief is that if you practice Ifa in earnest, and if you focus your mind and open your heart, then Ifa will show you the steps that you need to take to do that in a way that's consistent with your destiny, is consistent with your ancestors. Okay, and so that's the goal behind this particular portion of the mission, the School of Orisa Studies. I'm trying to provide you with everything that you need to know, before initiation, so that by the time you come out of initiation, you will be a functioning, conscientious, focused devotee, because all of us are devotees. High priest to ordinary, worshiper, first and foremost, we are devotees. So at every level of the school, that's what I'm trying to expose you to. So that being said, I want to, formally open up our first school-wide assembly with a small prayer, and then we'll be able to go forward. I got a nice agenda, and we should be able to get all this done in about 30-40 minutes, and then open up for some questions from you. So any questions that you've got as I'm going along, just jot them down, and toward the end of the conversation, I'll make some time to do some Q&A if there's any things that I haven't addressed for you. All right. So we begin every ceremony, every gathering in the name of the divinities with a verse of Ogunderi. Ogunda on the right, Owarning on the left, Ogunderi. And this is a prayer that we use to invoke the Isheshe. And as you may know, the Isheshe is one of the terms that we use to define our traditional practice, our traditional religion. Esin Ibile is another way that we refer to it. Isheshe is more well known, more common. Isheshe is the source. Isheshe are our progenitors. It's the fountains from which we spring forth. So this verse of Ifa invokes our Isheshe. Eriwoya ayagbo ayato. Eriwoya ayagbo ayato ayaje. Omeriwoya ayagbo ayato ayaje ayamu. Omeriwo sinpe loni asimi o ènìyàn tó périwo ya lóní àsìmí o Ọ̀rúnmìlà o ènìyàn tó périwo ya lóní àsìmí ènìyàn tó périwo ya lóní àsìmí àtótó arere atoto arere Ifá fẹ́ fọhùn gbogbo ẹ̀yin àdákẹ́ o atoto arere atoto arere Ifá fẹ́ fọhùn gbogbo ẹ̀yin àdákẹ́ o. Ifa wants for us to be listening because Oromila wants us to be listening because Ifa is going to speak. Okunku nare osakun legbe lesson western mi ori ota kisa agba imale wọn yan ro pe osun wọn mo to firun digbagu ojú o firun bondiyan pinpin agba mi regun adifa sese ti so lórí oro láyé adifa sese ti so lórí oro ni wa run ìyá ẹni àṣẹ ṣi ẹni bàbá ẹni àṣẹ ṣi ẹni orí ẹni àṣẹ ṣi ẹni ìkí ẹni àṣẹ ṣi ẹni àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lábo nífẹ̀ẹ́ ká tó ríre. Àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lábo nífẹ̀ẹ́ ká tó ríre o Ọ̀rúnmìlà o. Àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lábo nífẹ̀ẹ́ ká tó ríre. Àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lábo nífẹ̀ẹ́ ká tó ríre o. A ó bá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ o, a ó bá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ o. Asheshe la obo. Kawato Borisha. Borisha o. Borisha o. We pay homage to the spirits of our mothers, and we pay homage to the spirits of our fathers. We pay homage to this, our own internal spirit, our Ori, the thing that we chose in the prenatal state, that thing that guides and empowers us, that providence that will never depart from us, that part of us that provides all the resources that we need to be fulfilled and full self-actualized on the journey of life. We invoke and give thanks to the spirit of Ifa, that path that each and every one of us must cleave in the world, that journey that we must take, the experiences that we must have in order to cultivate and unleash and unveil the mystery of our prenatal choice. We beg that the four pillars of Ifa, our Isheshe, will work together in concert to build an impenetrable spiritual house for each and every one of us and for us as a community and a school as a whole. Ashe. So, today, we're going to talk about, we've got about 11 items, and I'm going to zip through them without being in a hurry. All right? So, one thing that I think you should know first and foremost is that every year within a spiritual community, their Ifa is cast for that community. And so you may see, for example, from Ile-Ife in Nigeria, they cast Ifa. There's an Odu of the year. That Odu serves as a thematic umbrella for all devotees around the world. And then in different, Orisa centers around the world, Cuba, they have their own Odu. And then within every temple, they're going to cast Ifa, and they will have an Odu. And then every individual who has Ifa will also cast Ifa and get a theme for her or his life. So for us as a school, the new year begins actually in November. So that's when I cast Ifa for our school. And the theme that comes out of that is called Onwarin Shogbe. Onwarin on the right, Ogbe on the left. Onwarin Shogbe, and I shared the Odu with you in order for you to have some idea of, some of the details. But the theme of Onwarin Shogbe is about tandem energy. It's about tension between one and another, and the falsehood that is endemic to that relationship. There's some sort of a falsehood in one of them. Something looks like it's one way, but it's really something different. And so the story that manifests typically in Onwarin Shogbe is between two individuals who are close together. One of them secretly hates the other, though. And the one who secretly hates the other one is constantly trying to do things to undermine the other. And until in the end, it's, the second person gets revenge and is justified for basically giving back some of the mistreatment that the former has been given unto her or him. And so that's what it looks like when we personify it, but there are higher, more esoteric aspects, of psychological aspects of it as well, right? There's always a part of life that is deceptive. There's always a part of everything that you see and what you hear and the things that are going on around you. Sometimes they're lying to you. Sometimes what you see really isn't what it is, and you got to take your time, and you got to go really slow, and you got to be very patient and attentive to the reality of what's unfolding in front of you in order to really respond accordingly. And that's why this Ifa says, don't get revenge. Don't be quick to lash out. Don't take the first thing that you see as law and then jump to attack. Take your time. Give it to the divinities. In particular, give it to Eshu. Eshu is the one, because Eshu is always deceiving us. Eshu is constantly confusing you and making you think that what you see is real when in reality it's not. Partially because Eshu is a shapeshifter. He can take on all these different forms, and that's how Eshu teaches. Eshu is the law of paradoxes. So in that regard, Onwarin Shogbe, the theme is paradox. Something that seems impossible, but is the only reality. Okay? So you've got to take your time, and you've got to be patient, and you've got to look with your spiritual eye. And you've got to appease Eshu. So we're appeasing Eshu continuously this year. and we're taking the time to be very patient to learn the lessons in the way that SU teaches us. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, go through, read that Odu from top to bottom and ask questions. Because when I cast that Odu, I invoked the spirit of all of the students. That Odu applies to you. That Owani Shogbe applies to you. And so I want you to look at it and I want you to ask yourself, where does this message resonate with me? Where does this message fit my life? And if it doesn't, that's even a better question. I've looked at it, I've thought about it this way, I've thought about it another way, and I don't see the connection. Then you should send me a message. Say, I don't see it. I don't see it. Then we can have a dialogue, all right? Because if you don't scream, I won't holler. Right? That's an old, Southern thing, right? A Southern saying. It's a Southern proverb. If you don't scream, I won't holler. You can use it in a lot of different ways. But in this regard, what I mean is that if you don't say anything, I'm not going to say anything, because I can't just be tracking every single person down and knock on your door to say, did this message mean something to you? You know what I'm saying? It's your responsibility, okay? I need you to take this, everything you should be sensitive to. Everything. Anytime you get a communication from me, I want you to be sensitive to it. I don't want you to be waiting. I don't want you to be expecting me to come and sit on your shoulders and tell you stuff and drag it out of you. You're not going to learn it that way. Okay? Ifa is all about choices. That's why we start with Isheshe. Your prenatal choice. You are here because your Ori chose a destiny for you. It's the only way that you were born. Because in the spirit realm, in the prenatal state, your Ori chose a destiny. And you gotta keep choosing over and 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 over. All right? And so I gotta believe that you chose to be in the School of Orisa Studies because you want to be guided. Okay? Let me guide you. I'm giving you the information. I'm putting it out there. You see something, even if you don't, but you gotta go through it. After you've gone through it and you don't see something, you need to reach out to me. Okay? I hope I'm being explicit enough. You need to reach out to me. There are no questions that are bad questions. I want to know what is resonating with you, where your doubts and where your confusion is. Very, very important. Okay? Owani Shogbe is our theme. I want you to be figuring out what that verse means to you. Okay? Next. Just some basic statistics and logistics. All right. We're at 51 students at the day of this recording. We're 51 students, which is good. People are spread out over a number of states in all regions. We got people in the Midwest. We got people on the West Coast. We got people on the East Coast. We got people in the South. And we have some people who are even abroad in Europe. And so there's a good broad cross section of people. The reason why this matters is because your geographic location, right, is going to determine the reality. Okay, it's going to determine the reality, and there's going to be some parts that are consistent, and then there's going to be some parts that will be radically different. And so the more vocal you are about what you're experiencing in relative to the teachings and the divinations and things like that, the more everybody's going to learn. Okay, this is what it looks like in my region. This is what it looks like in my region. Some people are in the city, some people are in more rural areas. And so it's important that you share, okay, because everyone's going to learn. The more we give, the more we get. Okay? And we've got people, really the majority of the students are clustered kind of in the upper classes. The silver and gold in particular is the highest concentration of students, which makes sense because that's where the most the richest classes are, teachings are, right? The greeting of the Kiki Orisha, the Oriki, the recitations of Ifa, the songs, Obi, all of that ritual protocol is built into the higher classes. And so I limit the number of people in those classes because I want to be able to be accessible to you. So what I want you to know is that if you're in the salt or the copper or the brass class and you want to matriculate up into silver or gold, that's fine. I just need to know that you're going to be, active. That's going to be the most important thing. So the more you do in the silver, in the silver or the copper, or the brass or the salt or the earth class, the more eligible you're going to be to move up into the gold and amethyst, even in silver classes. Okay. So that's another piece. I'm trying to bring people up from within before I start bringing people from outside, because other people want to get in, but I won't let them in at that level, right? Because there's just more hands on between me and you and the students. What else? I also want to make you aware of the fact that there might be some practices, because the School of Orisa Studies is a little bit more practical. I want you to know about the other classes that I offer that give you a bigger picture perspective, and will help enhance or contextualize your learnings and lessons in the School of Orisa Studies. So, I've got the 16 essential traits of personal priesthood, which is a class that's about the inner architecture. Right? This is about, when we talk about spirituality, for example, in the 16 essential traits of personal priesthood, I give you sort of a blueprint of what spirituality is. What is the inner world? What does it consist of? What are the functions? How do you tap into it? And it's all according to what Ifa teaches. These mental and spiritual and emotional activities that are associated with spirituality. Okay? And I say it like that because spirituality has become a buzzword for, like, back in the day, what we would call hippy dippy stuff. You know what I mean? People just super eclectic. No blueprint, though. You got to have a blueprint. All right? You got to have a blueprint. Your blueprint tells you how you build something. All right? A lot of what spirituality is that people are taking the superficial, the paint. They're putting different paint on stuff and putting different furniture in rooms, and they think that that's spirituality. But the spirituality really is the framework. That's how many feet do things have to be apart? What's the regulation size of a room? If there's a front door, it has to be a back door. How many electrical outlets do they have to be in a room? All that is built into your blueprint, and it follows some specific laws of building. Spirituality is that way. And so when you have that, pertaining to your inner world, the organization of your inner consciousness, it's going to help you then add on, and then you can start adding, pulling in things from different areas and traditions. So the 16 essential traits is all about helping you to organize your inner world. The fundamentals is about giving you an understanding of the sort of the architecture of Yoruba spirituality overall. What do we really believe? Okay. Do we believe in the Supreme Being? It's obvious that you would say yes, but how do you know? How do you really know that we believe in a Supreme Being? If your grandma was to ask you, that thing that you're doing, do y'all believe in God? You say, yes, Granny. How could you prove it? Where would you go to definitively explain to your granny that what you're doing is under or pointing to a Supreme Being? Most people can't. Okay? So the fundamentals is that. I've written that book so that you can explain to yourself what we believe, and then to give you the basis of how that belief is formed. What's the knowledge base in the structure of the knowledge that explains to you what we actually believe? Okay? From there, there's Pataki, or what is the class is called devotion. It's based on the book Pataki. That course is all about your daily ritual. It's about the 7-day calendar and understanding how the energy of the 7-day calendar replicates the process of creation. And how, if you understand the philosophy and the energy of each day, then you will be in tune with the creative process overall. Okay, it's a very important class to get you to embody and internalize the creative process. From that course, we have the course on modalities. The modalities course is about different kinds of healing modalities, healing methodologies within Yoruba tradition. If it's herbalism, if it's divination, if it's water gazing, if it's bone setting, astrology, all of the different indigenous Yoruba healing methodologies are included in that course. And then finally, there is implementation. And the implementation course is all about how you intend to activate and carry out your spiritual life. How you're going to implement it. If you're going to open a clinic, if you're going to be a nutritionist, if you're going to be a dentist, if you're going to be an Orisha priest or priestess, implementation is about helping you organize sort of the business of it, the structure, how you're going to pull together a team, how you're going to solve problems, how you're going to set goals. All of that comes in implementation. And the benefit of all of those is that it's all consistent. Okay, that's the most important thing for me, is that as you're beginning to develop your studies, your different sources of information need to be consistent. Okay, so you don't have a kind of a religious schizophrenia where you're fundamentally functioning as a Muslim, right? Because you were raised as a Muslim and that's what you know, and you're still practicing that as a philosophy. But like I said, then you're just adding, Yoruba clothing onto it, and then you got an Egyptian crown on it, and then you got some Mayan face paint, and when you try to follow the logic of all of those things to the end, they end up pulling you into multiple directions. Okay, and it just ends up driving people not necessarily crazy, but it just leaves them running in circles and never being able to progress spiritually. All right. So what I want you to understand is that those classes are there to support you in the School of Orisa Studies so that you can also like I said, contextualize your journey. So if you're not familiar with those, I want you to take a look at what's happening in the courses in the Orisha Lifestyle Academy as a whole. Next, what I want to bring to your attention is the Odu study guides. So a couple of days ago, I sent everybody a message with the Odu study guides. And so the Odu study guide is my attempt to send you a way to participate in the bi-weekly Itadogun ritual. As a member of a spiritual community, what happens is that, like I mentioned, there's Onwani Shogbe is the Odu of the year. Well, every 2 weeks, the Babalawo cast Ifa for the community as well. And they send that message out, and there's different sacrifices and medicines and taboos and observances for everybody in that community. If you're in the silver, gold, and amethyst class, then you're a part of the Tuesday night study group, and you've been, actively participating in that process since the beginning. But what I realize is that everybody in the school is involved in that. I include you all in the prayers and the invocations for the bi-weekly Itadogun. Could you guys mute your phone? We got Cloud and T Soleil. Could you mute your phone for us, please? Thank you. And so you got the Itadogun that sends out a message to everybody, but if you're not in those classes, you don't know. You don't get privy to that. So what I did was I created this Odu study guide that has a class-specific series of exercises and activities that will involve you in the Itadogun at every single class, so that as you are moving up, then you're going to be familiar with this 2-week cycle. You're going to be familiar with what kinds of thematic energies are pervasive in the school and from time to time, and you're going to get a better sense of how Ifa speaks throughout a year, what the phases of Ifa's messages are throughout a year. And so I want to include everyone from every class in that process according to your level. All right. So I need people, because this is the very first one, I need people to volunteer to beta test it. Okay. To go in, look at it at your level, go through all of the materials that are at your level, test it out, try it, feel it, make some notes, and then give me feedback and say, this is where it really makes sense. This is what I didn't understand. These are some things that would help me be able to get more out of this study guide, because it's important that you understand what the verses of Ifa are, how important Ifa is to your spiritual practice, and how you can actually start to implement and practice the wisdom of Ifa immediately. That's crucial. I don't want you to be out there, with just vague, abstract ideas about what Ifa is. It should be applicable. When you see the message, you should be able to do something internally and then practically immediately. So, again, with that, I want you to go through. I sent you the message maybe 3 days ago. Check your inbox, and if that's something that you can do, I need a handful of people, ideally somebody from every class, to volunteer to really go through all the exercises in that Odu study guide and give me feedback and let me know how it works. So, if that's for you, give it, put a note there and send me a message after the class, and then we'll figure out how to make that happen. What else do we have? Oh, all right. School of Orisa Studies swag. Okay, nice. We got Ava is ready to do it for the silver group. Fantastic. Thank you, Ava. I love it. School of Orisa Studies swag. Specifically some hoodies and t-shirts. I thought that would be really cute, right? And a nice way to represent. So I want to, just get some sense from people. We have a few enough people on here to get some feedback on that. So let me know your thoughts. Does that make sense? If you had would you prefer a t-shirt or a tank top or a hoodie? If you had one, would you wear it? You know what I mean? Or is that just, that's not necessary at all? What do you think? Okay. I want to get your feedback on that. And last but not least, two more things before we open up. For everyone in the silver and gold classes who has been, getting the medicines, you've been, participating in the EBOs and the medicines, and, getting to see the medicines, and they're coming from Africa in the next few days. I completed the full, descriptions and everything is being prepared. But what I didn't tell you earlier on was that, the shipping from Africa is quite criminal, to be honest with you. The cost of shipping from Africa is so high. So I just timed it out to say, okay, we're going to accumulate these and stockpile these medicines, and as soon as the chief gets back, then he'll forward them to me, and then I'll distribute them out to folks. So just bear with me, be patient, and it's okay. The medicine isn't time sensitive. The objective behind the medicine is for you to have that medicine for that purpose. So if it's for longevity, you have something that you can use. For example, on the day of longevity. Sunday is the day of longevity. If you're doing your prayers, you can use the medicine for longevity. If it's medicine for prosperity, on the day of prosperity, you have medicine to use on the day of prosperity, which is Monday. And on, all the different kinds of medicine that you will have, so that, again, you can be in the day-to-day practice. That's my objective, is so that every day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you can have a ritualized day that keeps you focused, that keeps you centered, keeps you calibrated with the energy of Ifa. And it's all consistent. All right? So that's very important. It's not time sensitive. The medicine is eternal. As long as you got it, you can use it. Okay? Last thing is referrals. I want you to refer people. I want you to be thinking about people who can come and join the School of Orisa Studies, people who would benefit from it, people who you think would be good study partners and buddies with you. Involve people. This is really super duper important. You got to tell people, this is working for me. This is what I'm learning. This is what I'm getting from this experience. Tell people. And for everybody who you tell that enrolls, if they just say, hey, Bonnie sent me, then I'll offer you 50% off any course. All right, any course that I offer in the Orisa Lifestyle Academy, is yours for half off for every person who enrolls in the School of Orisa Studies under your name. All right. Now that's key, and I'll tell you culturally what that looks like. I go back and forth from different places. Mostly Mexico, more recently Trinidad, and there's a thing that I know about Mexico in particular, and it makes the community really vibrant. When I do work for people in Mexico, I only need 5 clients in Mexico, okay? Because I do work for Marisela. Marisela's gonna, the next time she's gonna invite her mother, and then she's gonna bring her husband, and then she's gonna bring her brother, and then she's gonna bring her sister. So with Marisela, there's 5 people. And then the same thing was with Antonio. If I do work for Antonio, Antonio's gonna bring his wife, then he's gonna bring his brother, and he's gonna bring his sister. So then, you know what I'm saying? You start seeing that the numbers just grow exponentially by just having one dedicated client. It ends up being 5, 6, 7. And this is how the tradition is growing like wildfire in Mexico. Every year, it just grows and grows and grows. And quite honestly, it being an African tradition and we being African people, well, that's a very simple strategy for us to emulate and practice, for our own well-being. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell people. And I think that the way the information is being taught, you can tell anybody. I want you to know you can tell anybody, even your very, very Christian sister, your very, very Muslim brother. They can come into our classes and they can read my materials. It's okay. They're not going to be freaked out. There's nothing in my presentation that's going to blow them, out of the water. And I'll tell you, some of the best experiences I've had have been where people have brought, for example, their parents, very southern, 60-something-year-old mom from Louisiana, very southern mom from Arkansas, real super-duper southern Christian dad from Texas. They've all come and sat down, and we've spoken, and we've hashed out different ideas, and I've showed them different teachings, and they're not converted, but they get it. They understand. Everything we're doing is very natural, and it makes total sense. So I don't want you to be reluctant to share it. All right? Not only does it help the tradition grow, but it helps normalize your practice amongst your circle of influence. You don't want to be the person who's practicing Orisha lifestyle for